Saw, dude. Saw, dude, early. Yeah, man. It's been a while. Oh, yeah. I could see the chat differently now. The VODs. The VODs bot. The VODs bot. Sweet. They didn't. Yeah. It's like it's like sold out everywhere. I would try to find the mangler for you when I got the AR, and then I just haven't been able to find it since. I'm still 2 years away from feeling like that, so I still got time to buy absolute dog shit. They can't hear you. That's funny. You're actually not on you're not showing up for video on me in Discord. Yeah, I can see you on Twitch. I can't see you on Discord right now. Well, I mean that's where I've been interacting with you. It's kind of delayed on the other side. I can't see your live reactions. Maybe it's just showing me two dots right now. So it won't show you it in Discord then. It'll only go to Twitch. So I guess we're just podcasting without video. I can just see myself and then a delayed reaction of you. You're a very expressive person though. I want to see how you react to. Yeah, dude. You look like Boston Matthew. See, you're telling me that right now, and I'm looking at the stream, and I don't even see the there you go. There's the comb. It just popped up now. There's like a sig. Oh yeah, there you go. Again, just popped up just now. The suspense is like significant anytime you're about to show me something because I'm like, oh man, he talked about it, and I haven't seen it yet. Cool. All right. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm excited to see that. Lives in lives in redacted Ontario at this particular address. She Baps. This makes the two of them together, as it were. Shabaps. Ant Shabaps. Shabapthany. Shabapthany. There we go. Keep doing what you're doing. especially the mustache. All right, dude. Let's kick it off. It's a new year, new us. So, um, well, we got a lot, man. So, I mean, or it's free. We haven't done it in a few months. It's just the two of us, but we'll have our frequent other flyers popping in from time to time. Um, but yeah, our weekly gaming show is back as part of the Slice Podcast Network, the Aspiring Slice Podcast Network. So we're gonna be here every Thursday on Twitch at 9 p.m. And then you're going to hear the podcast going up the next day on all streaming platforms, as it has been. There's a ton of old content from the Slice that's on there right now. We'll probably post up some classic episodes too, some stuff that's just kind of been shrunken down and mixed a little bit differently now that I've got a functional computer, which is nice for the first time in a couple years. Um, so yeah, you can check us out on yeah on Twitch. You can listen to Would You Rather Part One and Part Two, where we go through some very silly shit when we could still record in person. But yeah, you can check us out on twitch.tv/the slice every Thursday, 9 p.m. is where you're going to find us right here with our nice little space station graphic in the background, which is very expanse slash Mass Effect slash any space thing ever in the background. I dig it. I dig it, man. I actually watched a video earlier today of people jumping from the highest point in all Spider-Man games, and somebody like superimposed the PS4. I did. I loved it. They superimposed the PS4 like suit on like the 8-bit and like older games, and it was fucking sweet. That suit looks cool. Yeah, yeah. So it looks pretty cool. On top of that, we got social media up and running again. So we are on at the Slice TO on Twitter as well as on Instagram. So you can find us on there, the Slice TO. And then I think both of us are off socials. Otherwise, I'm still on Twitter, but my Instagram is decommissioned. You're on Twitter as well? Yeah, follow us on there. I'll be running that, so I'm on social still in some capacity, and we'll kind of like banter back and forth, I'm sure, as we have in the past. We're gonna have some guests from time to time this year. He's gonna join us for some debate and some streams and some other stuff. So we've got a lot of stuff that we got planned for Or It's Free. And then every Sunday we're gonna post up a streaming schedule for the week that's upcoming because we'll be doing some streaming together and also solo because there's no shortage of games for us to play right now. Even though we've been playing Halo pretty religiously for the last 2 months, I can't believe it's been 2 fucking months already. Yeah, we were talking about that the other night. I think I got through Splitgate like a fair amount, but I didn't think, and that was really just a primer for Halo, anyways, because Halo wasn't out yet. Um, I've still never played a battle royale game. Like I've dived in like for a few minutes here and there, but never like actually committed to any of them. I feel like I'm missing out. Naraka Blade Point. Oh, you showed me that before. I thought you were gonna say it's up my ass. I was like, yeah, I hope so. So does it just have us as a slice TO right now? Love it. Well, that's all the big stuff, I think, for now. We've got the stream schedule on Sundays, like I said, and we're going to be playing some stuff throughout the week. You can watch a whole bunch of stuff on Devon's channel as well. He posts his streams up from time to time. Well, not from time to time. I think I was just watching it before this, and you've got like 5 Halo videos from this week from every night that we've played. Um, Do anything? Yeah. Yeah, so we've been playing a lot of Halo. Like a shitload of Halo. Like that's all I've been playing. I know that you're playing other stuff, but like the time that I have had, I've basically been playing Halo almost nonstop. I have a feeling I'm gonna end up going back to Horizon in the next couple of weeks because after watching some more footage of Forbidden West today, um, God, I forgot how much I love that game, and it's already been 5 years, so I'm excited to jump back into that. It's also got. It's fortunate that it's not going to launch around Breath of the Wild this time, so I feel like it might get a little bit more love. I hope. Yeah, we came out same day or like very similar. I don't know. It's like right around the same time. Anywho, yeah, so that's what's on the docket for this year. We've got other stuff that we got planned, but we're not going to announce it just yet because we want to figure out some stuff before we get to the point of announcing it, which we haven't always done in the past. So we're committed to doing a lot of content this year, but definitely going to keep it pretty simple for now. We'll keep Words Free going, and then we'll see where the slice brings us, and then we will communicate that out either on Thursday or on social media whenever we got some other stuff on the way. But there's definitely some other stuff that we've got planned. So let's jump into it, man. It's been a while since we've talked. We've seen a whole bunch of stuff. It's probably been since what, like August, September since we last streamed? Maybe longer. Yeah, so we've got a lot to cover. But let's talk a little bit about I guess what we saw this week that kind of caught our attention. So how we're gonna probably structure this going forward. We're gonna do a little bit of a news recap on some of the stories that really caught our eye this week. And we're gonna pick three stories, just discuss them. And then we've got some other segments that we're gonna chop up as well. So we're gonna call them our toppings. So these are our three toppings for now. And I don't really have one to start with, Devyn, because the one I want to talk about is kind of I'm still reading up on it to to fully understand what's going on with it. But what caught your attention this week? Was there anything really? It's kind of a slow news week. It's New Year's Day week, which isn't always the fastest of news weeks, but there is some stuff that did get announced or at least talked about a little bit. CES was this week, so I bet you there's some stuff in there. Yeah, it's kind of the biggest, I guess it's the biggest news story so far this year, which isn't to say much given that we're 6 days into the year. But yeah, PSVR 2 was announced last year and it got a little bit of a showcase, not a huge one, but a little bit of some details were shared about it, including some titles that are being worked on for it. But I'm pretty excited about this. We talked about it, I think it was last E3 or whenever they first announced that they were working on PSVR 2. And Sony talked a little bit more about it and announced the title for it, which is really exciting. Horizon's going to get worked on, and it they're obviously using one of the developers, well, not obviously, but they're using one of the developers that they acquired last year in Firesprite Games, in collaboration with Guerrilla Games. So on the horizon of Horizon Part 2 coming out, I love my pun. It's a good question. I don't actually know off the top of my head, so let me look into this real quick. So Fire Sprite, they've actually done quite a bit. They did Persistence VR, which was well received. They did Playroom VR, Run Sackboy Run, and then the Playroom. You got it, yeah. Yeah, they're not super old. They're 2012, based out of Liverpool. Persistence, I think, from what I remember, was a pretty well acclaimed title. Like a lot of people really loved it. And it just got a definitive edition that, or an enhanced edition that came out this year that I think was given away on PlayStation Plus, if I'm not mistaken, just a few months ago. Um, so yeah, so Fire Sprite is working on Horizon. I think it's Call of the Mountain is what it's called, which is going to be a PSVR 2 title. And they showed a little bit of what it looked like. It looked really, really cool. Last year when we discussed PSVR 2, we talked about PSVR 1 feeling kind of like a tech demo for what was to come. And it sounds like they're putting a lot of tech into this new generation PlayStation VR 2, and it's been accompanied by a lot of rumors that it's actually not that far off. So I was reading today that there's a rumor going around that they're ramping up production already, and that we might see it in Q2, which is hard to believe because that's only a few months away. Um, but yeah, if that's the case, that's not too far, I guess. But it wouldn't be that surprising either. PSVR has been out for a little while now. What do you think? It's called it's called the Sense, and so I feel like it'd be kind of strange if they didn't include DualSense technology in it. Um, and they kind of did a deep dive into the controller, a semi deep dive into the controller when they first announced it last year. Let me see if I can find out the specific around it. But I'd be yeah, I was just reading about it. Nothing too specific. Like even the blog post, I don't think went way too into detail. But they did say it's going to offer haptics. So yeah, I mean, I haven't been I haven't been shy about how much of a fan of the DualSense I am after not loving the previous iterations of the DualShock controllers. So if they even just found a way to make like the DualSense and just kind of separate it into two controllers for VR, I'm pretty fucking down with that because it just feels good. That controller just feels really, really good. It's actually super noticeable because we've been playing so much on Xbox lately. I have been jumping, like I played a little bit of NHL today, and that has haptics in it, and it's still like it still takes me back a little bit whenever I use the DualSense because it just feels unlike any other controller that's out there right now. Um, and even playing Spider-Man the other day. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, if you ever get a chance, if we ever get a chance to play on it together, like it is. It depends on how games utilize it, because there are games that I find it really annoying. Like an example was Marvel's Avengers. Like the way that they introduce haptics in that, it's just a little bit over the top. Like it's actually like borderline annoying when you're navigating it. It just adds like tension for the sake of adding tension. Whereas in games like Spider-Man, even in Ratchet and Astrobot, they really utilize it really well. Like it feels immersive and it doesn't feel like a burden. It just feels like it's enhancing your immersion. But there are games that I feel like are just they introduce it for the sake of introducing it, which I get it, like it's new technology. But there's also a proper way to kind of use that. It's you don't really want to annoy somebody. Kind of reminds me of when the six axis came out, and there was games that like six axis controller. The six axis controller came out, and there was games like Lair and Motorstorm and like a bunch of games that utilized it, and it just seemed half baked. Um, And it's kinda like that. There were games that utilized it well, don't get me wrong, like, I think when it was a little bit more subtle and it wasn't a huge gameplay mechanic, but this so far, I'd say all the Sony first parties have used it really, really well. It's just kinda some of the third party games that are not great. So, if that translates to what they're doing with PSVR, and I imagine the Sony first party studios are gonna be the ones that utilize the technology the most, especially if they're building another game, like Horizon, and Guerrilla Games, then I imagine we're gonna get some pretty cool stuff out of that controller. But yeah, I'm excited, man. It's fucking want to play it so bad. Yeah, yeah, and I'm down with that. Like Alex is really one of the ones that I'm not gonna play, or I'm not gonna buy a Valve Index. There's no fucking way I was ever gonna buy it. Um, Well, I was talking to somebody I know that I work with the other day, and he actually has one, and I was surprised. I was like, man, it's so pricey. Like, I get it, but like, I think Alex would be the only thing I'd really be interested in playing on it. Um, and it's just not worth it for that reason. Because obviously the tech's gonna get cheaper, and if there's something like PSVR 2 that's gonna do it and have some first party titles, you know. Yeah, and I mean, just from what exists so far, like I don't regret buying the PSVR, but it definitely like I haven't played it nearly as much to warrant what I paid for it, and I paid probably about half of what it cost at launch. Um, and there were some good games. Like I played Moss on it. I played some of the other games that came out. But yeah, it never really felt like something that I wanted to do. Like when I was thinking about gaming, I still wasn't thinking about going home and playing on my headset. Like it was much more of a niche thing that I wanted to do. But I know that Well, when we went to your house for the pool party, I forget what year it was. It might have been 2018. 'Cause I think it was the last time we did it. We played it. I played Beat Saber at your place for the first time, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome." But I just like I don't know. After I work for a day or I do something and I want to come home, it's just not what I default to. Like it especially like with the multiple cables and like the way that the PSVR has to be set up right now. It's just not. Yeah. 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 And I guess going back to PSVR, like it has that single cable that it's going to use, which will simplify it. Because even right now, I think what's been a deterrent for me using my VR on PS5 is just first of all, like getting the actual adapter would took fucking almost 3 months to get because Sony had them back ordered, and they didn't just sell them; you had to order them through Sony service. Um, but then on top of that, like the actual setup was kind of a hassle because you still need the dedicated GPU that it had for the headset, as well as a sensor to get set up. But you couldn't use the PS5 camera; you had to use the PS4 camera via the adapter. So like, it's at a certain point, I was just like, it's not. There's nothing on this thing that I want to play enough, and I'm sure everything's going to be backwards compatible for PSV VR2, or at least most stuff will be. And so I'll just wait to play it then. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked, man. I hope we get more details on it soon. I read a rumor today that they're gonna have some sort of like reveal event in the near future, that it's not too far off. Yeah, yeah, or like I guess when they do their bigger ones, like the PlayStation Showcase or whatever they did, where they showed off all those games last year, something similar, but for VR specific stuff. So yeah, um, that was kind of the biggest news, I guess, so far since the holiday season. Um, Anything else really? Like I don't really have a ton of stories. There's some other stuff that kind of came out today, but it's just smaller articles and stuff that I've just kind of been reading about. But any other any other news? Yeah, actually, that was just a few hours. That was a few hours before we joined up, or we're talking about what we're gonna do tonight. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like E3 doesn't have really the prestige that it did. I guess when we even from a few years ago, like ever since they moved to online. Actually, I'd say before that, like ever since really Sony stopped presenting there, it just doesn't have the same. And it's not that Sony's like the be all end all of it. It's just more so like one of the big three. You're taking a third out of uh what was like a huge showing, right? And even before that, I guess Nintendo backing out of E3 was actually probably even more significant because then it just kind of left it where you had the Nintendo showcases, but they didn't always line up with E3 or they were kind of around it. And now it just seems like everybody kind of does their own thing and Xbox has been kind of the constant at E3, but like Ubisoft really hasn't had good showings in the last couple of years. Sony's conference last year was really poor. So I don't really look forward to it anymore. Yeah. I think what Jeff Keighley's doing with Game Awards and with Summer Game Fest, like having it kind of over a period of time, gives everything its own kind of space to breathe as well. And I think 2021's E3 was actually probably worse than 2020's because at least there was stuff being worked on for 2020 that was probably already in progress. But then over the course of 2020 and 2021, so many devs probably got stuff delayed or like couldn't show off what they wanted to show off. So I feel like last year got hit harder even than the first year of the pandemic, which is crazy to think about, but probably the reality of things, right? But we got invited last year to go. Well, we applied and we ended up getting our application approved. So we'll be going back to E3 this year, assuming that E3 exists the way that it did last year. Please fix, please fix your portal, E3. Last year it was garbage, dude. You couldn't set up anything. We tried to set it up for days and it didn't work. So fix it, dudes. The festival's already struggling. The expo is already struggling. So fix the portal. That's my formal request to our two viewers. Would you say viewers and me is the slice as well? There we go. So we're in an echo chamber of feedback. They also just left after. They're like, oh, we got what we came for. Fucking promo. Let's get the hell out of here. That was his purpose. That's funny. Yeah, so I mean, we'll have more news, obviously. Slow week, slow news week. First week after the holidays, probably not a ton of stuff, but some pretty interesting stuff coming out of CES. So yeah, I guess those are the toppings for now. We can talk about what we've been playing because you said you started a whole bunch of games. I'm excited to talk about all the games that we've played since we last podcasted. Sure, for sure. I have a strong opinion about Halo Infinite because it's basically a Spider-Man game. The way that I use the fucking grapple hook in that game, it's so fucking good all the time. Yeah, it's like a fucking gift whenever you get it in multiplayer. Um, I don't know. You lead, man. What are your favorite Spider-Man games or like favorite Spider-Man titles? I guess over the years. Okay. Yep. Yep. There's yeah, man. So good. I'm pulling up like a comprehensive list of all of them. Yeah, because there's obviously quite a few, but like I'll go with the major ones because there's also a ton of like the mobile ones that are like spin-offs of the ones that were on console at the time. Um, the one that probably stands out to me is very similar to yours, is that the original Spider-Man game, uh, and Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro for the PS1. Like those are probably the two that are just so good. Like they oh, it was a lot of fun. I think Spider Carnage was like the big villain at the end, if I'm not mistaken, or that might have been the first one. I don't remember now. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Um, So yeah, those games I definitely remember. Maximum Carnage, yeah, SNES and Genesis. I'd love to play those again. They're probably not nearly as good as I remember them, but they did some pretty cool stuff with games. Like I mean, there was a period there where I feel like they couldn't get into a groove. Like after Spider-Man 2, most of the movie games, because I mean, for a period of time there, like all the Spider-Man games are just basically movie tie-ins. So Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, Spider-Man 3, but Spider-Man 2 was actually like a really, really good game overall, even though it was a recreation of what was happening in the movie. And then we got Shattered Dimensions, if you remember that. That was pretty cool. It was like one of the first like Spider-Verse properties that we saw outside of comics. Yep. Yeah, yeah, Beanox took it over. I think Treyarch was doing it before and was published by Activision, and then I think Beanox took it over for Edge of Time and Shattered Dimensions. Shattered Dimensions is great. I don't think I ever played um, Edge of Time, but I heard very mediocre things about it, especially after how good Shattered Dimensions was received. Um, it's not that old of a game either. It would have been the last game that would have come out prior to the PS4 Spider-Man, right? Like mid 2010s probably. Yeah. So so yeah, I mean it's obviously it's kind of far and away the two best ones are Marvel Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Just not just because of the cinematic nature of those games, but also just the way that they play is fucking unbelievable. And you haven't played Miles yet. I'm super excited for you to play that. Um, but I think probably my third after that is Ultimate Spider-Man, which I've been bugging you like a lot to try to figure out a way to play it because it's not available for backwards compatibility, and I finally found a way to be able to play it. So I'm pretty excited for that. Venom being my favorite villain, and you being able to play as both of them is a pretty cool dynamic. So I'm pretty excited for that. Uh, Yeah, yeah. He like functioned differently in Ultimate Spider-Man, and I remember being able to swing around like not just Manhattan, but even in Queens, like with some of the lower buildings. And I also feel like the art style of that game was like it was kind of cel shaded, so I feel like it probably won't age as much as the other ones where they were trying to be as realistic as they could. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to play that. So yeah. And then obviously we're talking about this because of Far From Home, or not Far From Home, sorry, No Way Home that just came out, which is awesome, and I read about it every day, and I can't wait to watch it again. Well, we were supposed to go see it opening weekend, and then COVID and Omicron. Um, nice. Yeah, good. I'm happy you got to see it before all of this. So yeah, yeah, which would have been super easy because if you go anywhere on Twitter right now, it's just, I mean, spoiler alert here, everybody that hasn't seen it, like Toby and it's been out for 2 weeks. Um, but yeah, Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield are getting talked about like everywhere, even more so than they were prior to the movie. Obviously, now that it's been confirmed that they're in the movie. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if I spoiler tag this to be fair, I said spoiler alert at the beginning. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for Spider-Man 2. It's funny, every time we've talked about 2023 so far, I've been like, we're only a year away from Spider-Man 2. And I still feel that way. So let's fucking go. I'm excited. Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, on that note, we've got a few minutes left before we wrap up. Do you want to talk about some of the stuff that's upcoming this year? Because there's quite a bit. Maybe we'll just tackle the first few months here because there's already actually some games coming out. Um, for sure. I mean, my biggest game so far this month is or next month is Horizon. I'm really excited for that. But let me pull up release dates here. And I know that there's a big one that we're both looking forward to that's coming out at the end of the month. But let's see what's coming out other than that. Well, we've got I mean, before we even jump into releases, like Game Pass is having a fucking hell of a month, man. There's so much stuff coming to Game Pass this month. So we've got Anacrusis is coming out on January 13th, which we're excited for, or I'm excited for. I think it looks pretty cool. God of War is coming to PC on January 14th. It's pretty exciting. Nobody Saves the World is coming out on January 18th. I believe that is headed to Game Pass. We've also got Rainbow Six Extraction, which was announced to be coming out day one Game Pass as well after it was price reduced. Yep. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection is coming out at the end of the month as well. And then Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is the game that I was referring to. I'm pretty fucking excited for that game, man. Yeah. I'm optimistic because it just I don't know. There's Pokemon games that have kind of caught my interest in the past, but this seems like it's I mean everybody wants to be Breath of the Wild now, like Breath of the Wild now. Everybody's comparing everything. Like even Halo, which I don't think is even close to Breath of the Wild, is still like this is Halo Breath of the Wild. Um yeah, which is I mean, let's be honest, it's just use they're, they're trying to do like a whole like well not they, I have to speak generally, but like everybody seems to refer to all open world games now as like Breath of the Wild clones, which you can have we've had open world games well before Breath of the Wild, and I'd put some of these games probably into those categories. Whereas Breath of the Wild was like a truly like huge, expansive survival game. I don't know if I think Legends is going to be like that, but like Halo and some of the other open world games are definitely not like that. They're just open world games. You know what I mean? Yeah, 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 yeah. Which is really funny. Because it's like almost like open world games didn't exist prior to Breath of the Wild, which could not be further from the truth. Um, there's one other game, can I mention really quickly that I'm excited for, but I don't know much about it. It's called Akai. It's supposed to be like a horror game. It's an indie horror game that's coming to PlayStation, PC, and Switch. Um, it looks a little Insomnia-esque, which I'm pretty excited about because I did like Insomnia, even though it scared the shit out of me. IKAI. It's set in like feudal era. Um, yeah, it's Japanese folklore horror game. It's pretty looks pretty terrifying. Japanese horror games tend to be pretty scary, so I'm down. I'm excited. Cool. Yeah, let's do it. Blast us, dude. Sure. Give me God of War. So did Gabby, and he never fucking beat, I think, the first part of it. Yeah, man. Yeah. You need when you get to the Valkyries in God of War, if you think what you've been playing is hard so far, just fucking wait till you get to the Valkyries, man. Um, it's cheap. Yeah, yeah, it feels like manufactured difficulty, rather than like, yeah, yeah, and it's very like if you're used to playing God of War games, the style of game that it is significantly different. Like the actual combat system is much more grounded, I think, than more of like a hack and slash like the previous God of War games. So you have to be more strategic. Yeah. Mind you, when you get up to some of the higher levels and you get some of the better equipment, like you can definitely start to get the sense of the original God of Wars, which is awesome because you can just take down fucking like groups of enemies really, really easily. But yeah, when you get to the Valkyries, man, I'm excited for you to get to them, and I hope you stream it because when I man, there are very few moments in games that I've ever played where I've been as frustrated as I've been facing those fucking things. And I realized oh man, I'm not one of those people that like gets close to breaking shit. When I was playing God of War on the second hardest difficulty and fighting the Valkyries way under leveled, then I realized I could have gone back and fought them after. But the way that I play open world games generally is to try to clear everything out before I move on to the next mission, which I shouldn't have done with these Valkyries. Yeah, exactly. Or you don't want to pass it because you don't know if you can go back to it in some games. Because like the God of War games historically have been pretty linear. And this one's not, right? Like you can go back to areas once you've kind of passed, I guess, like main quest points. Um, but yeah, man, like I faced one of the Valkyries very underleveled, and I think it would probably take me about 3 days to beat it. And it was so fulfilling. And then at the end, you face a very strong enemy that's like a culmination of all the Valkyries, and I fucking lost it. I was so upset. But I eventually platinumed that game, so I'm very happy. And I'm excited for God of War Ragnarok. So he does. The story of that game is really good, man. And I honestly like it's probably fair enough to talk about a little bit more openly. I'm not going to spoil it for you, obviously, but um, I was I didn't know what to expect in terms of how it would bridge to the previous God of War games, and I think it does. Yeah, so that's what I thought playing it. But it does bridge to the original games, in a sense, and I won't spoil how it does it for you, but like the moment where I realized it was doing that, I got very fucking excited as a big God of War fan. I loved 1 through 3 and Ghosts of Sparta and Chains of Olympus and all those games on PSP. But yeah, when it bridges together with the previous lore, I think Kratos even becomes a more likable character because you realize it's the same Kratos that you've played as in the past rather than this new iteration of him. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for you to play that, man. God of War is truly like one of the best games I've ever played. I can say that pretty confidently. I think about it pretty often. Yeah, so if you could play it on PC, play it on PC. I'd recommend that. Um, for me, so I told you I think yesterday I started KOTOR again on uh on Switch, which I'm pretty excited to get through. Um, Obviously lots of Halo, a little bit of Forza here and there. Played a little bit of NHL today as well. I tried to start Guardians on Christmas, and I still haven't gotten around to playing it, even though I'm very excited to play it. And it ended up on a lot of people's end of the year list, which was very surprising, and I was very excited because I love the Guardians movies, and I even loved the comics before the movie had come out. But I just haven't come around to playing it. I really wanted to finish the Halo campaign before doing that. There's a couple games I've got to beat that I've just left. So like Kena, Bridge of Spirits, I want to go back and beat. Um, and so once I beat that, I think I'll start to move on to things like Guardians and Deathloop and some of the other games that I've picked up that I just haven't gotten to. So right now, NHL, Forza, Halo, and then I'm trying to pick out what my next single player game is going to be now that I beat the Halo campaign. Yeah, man. There's a bunch of games I'm interested in playing. Like there's I think 5 last night that I think I downloaded just on Game Pass alone, and then there's a bunch of stuff on sale like Neo and Nier and oh my god, there's so much to play right now, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a I say this pretty often and I don't mean for it to sound to come across negative, but it's hard for it's the one thing I dislike about Game Pass is just like I have a backlog of games I've bought, and now I find myself going onto Game Pass and finding games that are like even more than already my backlog, and it just makes games feel very expendable. So like Echo Generation is a game I was very much looking forward to. Below is another game I can think of. Void Bastards. Like over the years, there's so many games that like if I had bought them, I think I would have like committed more time to them. But because they're so passive and they're on Game Pass and you can go back to them at any point in time, in theory, um, I don't prioritize them as much. I end up like playing the big titles that everybody's kind of playing instead of some of the smaller ones. So like Echo Generation is one of the ones that I'm really excited to play. Haven't fucking touched it, man. And I know it's because it's there on Game Pass and I'm gonna be able to do it again in 6 months or whatever. Um, but yeah, man, there's quite a few of those right now that I'd like to start. And I'm excited to once I can. Yeah, he's been really good about going and playing like a lot. Like there's a lot of recommendations I've gotten from him that have been really solid, which I super appreciate. So shout out to you, Gabby, for like being on the mark with that and making recommendations, even though they're games I haven't had a chance to check out yet. But like, I'm happy you're really like playing as much as you are, even some of the 5 6 hour games that you might be able to finish in a sitting or two. Yeah, yeah, man. Shout out to you, Gabby. It's pretty much it, man. This is the first or it's free of the year, and the first one on what we hope to be a long streak of these shows. Obviously, we're still catching our groove a little bit here, and hopefully, we're able to have some more fun and be a little bit more out there on future podcasts. But it's a slow week news wise. Um, got a little Yeah, man. A little bit of a holiday hangover, but we'll get back to it, and we'll see you on Thursday, hopefully with some news this upcoming week, because there's some exciting shit happening, I'm sure. For sure. Yeah, dude, I'm excited. What are you trying to shout out, man? Can we actually, before we do that, because It Takes Two was my game of the year. I'm curious, what was your game of last year? Yeah, mull it over. But I definitely think, but I was really happy to see It Takes Two one because that was an important. It was a fun game, and it was also just like a super important game. I think last year, when people needed a lot of company and stuff like that, so it was cool for people to be able to play that together. Mike says only my audio is coming through. Yeah, Mike, can you stick around for a second and tell us if you fix it? Do you hear him? Do you hear him? Do you hear him? Nothing, man. Would it have recorded it from Discord or from Twitch? Fuck, man. I hope there's audio, or else it's just me talking to myself. Okay.